Hi everybody, wherever you are in the world, good morning or good afternoon or good evening to some of our friends in the UK. It's myself, Ronan Quirk, on the API team with my good colleagues and friends, Adam Moore and Tony Rule. And so today we've got our sixth Hangout session of the year so far for June. So this is our continuing series of Hangouts that we can run you through some stuff that's been happening in API world. So just true, Tony. Cool. So we're going to keep it short and sharp today. So we've got just a 30-minute session today, just to get you updated on a few things, and we'll just roll on through. So I'm going to give you a few bits of pieces of news generally, and Adam's then going to be taking us through some of upcoming API releases. And then if you've got any questions, please feel free to do so. Underneath the video that you're watching, you can stick a question in the comments box, and we'll be keeping an eye on that through the Hangout, and we'll take those questions at the end. So yeah, any questions you've got on that, be sure to stick it in. You can also fire a tweet at ZeroAPI. We'll be keeping an eye on that. And finally, as always, if you do have questions at any other time, we'd love to help you out. So just fire them into our community forum, and we'll be able to help you out there. Cool. So what's new in Zero World generally? So we take you through just some things that are happening across the main application and what they've been releasing, because obviously that will have an impact further down the road on what we've been releasing. So I guess one of the features that you might have seen on the Zero blog, and if not, please go over there and check it out, is Smart Lists. So Smart Lists is a feature, I guess it's an enhancement to our contacts, and so it allows you to create lists based on rules, essentially, based out of your contacts. So if you want to find a list of everybody who's bought a particular widget, if you're using inventory items, or if you're looking for everybody who has an overdue invoice, you can create a list in Zero of those and export that as a CSV, or using an integration that we built to Constant Contact, export that directly. So lots of potential use cases there for people to leverage that by the API as well. So what we'll be doing is we'll be seeing how people use that over the next few months, and we'll definitely factor that into exposing that by the API as well. So I think it could have some great potential for integrations. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, obviously being able to mine all your existing customers is really valuable, and yeah, we're pretty confident third-party developers will find ways to use that in ways that we would never have imagined.
Yeah. So definitely, any developers out there that have good use cases for the new Smart Lists feature, if you think there's something that you could use it for, do let us know, and we'd love to find out some of those use cases, and then we'll figure out then the priority of how we can get that into the API. Default accounts on tracking and for our own contacts, you can now specify a default ledger account and tracking category option as well. So I guess this is really useful if you are completing an invoice and you always code it to the sales account, but you have a tracking category option that you always select for this particular customer. So I guess one of the things we've already fielded a question on, so it's important to just confirm, is that in API world, Tony, we don't use these UI helper defaults by and large. We expect the application to explicitly specify what it's after, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right. So rather than, I guess, confuse developers with stuff that's going to override how they're setting up line items, basically the developer will just define how a line item will be. But what we'll look to do over time is expose those defaults via the contacts endpoint. So we've already done that with quite a few other attributes about contacts, but we'll look to get these ones put in there soon.
And in those fields as well. Awesome. So finally, last two things is 4 decimal places. In Zero, we've got our own on a few bits and pieces to run through on 4 Places and on API World, so we probably won't cover that in much detail now. And then another one, so I guess I just wanted to also cover off the fact that there's a new role in Zero called the consultant role, because developers are always a little bit confused about what roles can do what in Zero. But the only message I would say for the consultant role is it's not a role that affects the API. Essentially, it's not something that you need to be worried about. So the bottom line is still that either a standard user or a financial advisor user attached to the Zero organization are the user role types that can authorize an API connection. So the consultant role shouldn't affect us. Cool. Then I just want to give a call out to some of our add-on partners that have been doing interesting things recently. So congratulations to Spotlight Reporting, who have done a fundraising round of $3 million. So Tony, Spotlight, Richard Francis and the team have been around for quite a while, so it's great to see them ramping up even more.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now when they started first talking to us, and that was before we exposed reports via the API. So yeah, that's really, really pleasing to see how far they've come along.
Yeah, awesome. Counter have received a minority investment as well from MYOB. I'm not sure who those guys are, but they've invested in Counter. So it's great to see our add-ons doing well and ramping up, because what we'd love to see is them having the resources and the capabilities and working with us across all the different markets that we're developing in as well. And on that note as well, I just want to make a call out to Vend, who are currently hiring their first UK-based employee, which again is great because we love to see our add-on partners having salespeople or other members of their team locally in the regions that we're active in as well. And so if anybody is thinking about expanding out to whatever sort of territory you might be in now and you're looking to expand to somewhere else, but if you want to go and check out the scene or maybe work from one of our offices for a day or two, you're more than welcome to drop us a line and we can arrange that. And then finally, Workflow Max is both an add-on and a Zero product, but they've recently relaunched workflowmax.com. They've done a great job on their website. So for any developers out there looking at their own sites and thinking that they might need a bit of work, there's some great examples of approaches and content ideas and everything like that on the new workflowmax.com website. So congratulations to them on the launch of that. Cool. And then very quickly, I just want to welcome some new add-on partners that we've added in the last few weeks. So EverHour, based in Belarus of all places, is a cool little time tracking application. Scan to Invoice is an application for, as you might have guessed, scanning your invoices into Zero. So that's really cool. Analytics is an analytics application. Poly Payments, released in Australia, is a new payment service that integrates into online invoicing. Boxkite is an application that allows you to back up your Zero data into a Dropbox account. And then our friends over at Leap is a legal practice management software application for Australian market. And then Client Heartbeat is a application for doing sort of follow-up client surveys based on invoicing and things like that in Zero. So great to have some new add-on partners on board as well. Cool. So the interesting stuff now, upcoming releases.
Cool. Thanks, Ryder. Yeah, as you briefly mentioned, 4DP support for unit amounts has just come out on Monday in the core app. So something we know people have been waiting for in the core product and through the API. So we're really keen to be able to make that available as soon as possible through the API as well. And the other sort of another really popular request on user voice is being able to post tracking categories. So the primary use case is sort of when you're adding invoices and there's no tracking category that exists that you want to use. You can't create those on the fly at the moment, but now once we bring that on board, you'll be able to do that. With the 4DP support, the cliche selling 1,000 widgets at $1.7985. we now want to be able to bring that into Xero and through the API. Also conscious that there's integrations that have been built out there that expect Xero to round those amounts and calculate totals in a certain way. So we're conscious not to make a breaking change, and for that reason we've made it opt-in to start using 4 decimal places. So there'll be an extra query string parameter to put on your requests, which is unit DP equals 4. So we've got a few examples there. Available everywhere on all the endpoints that support line items. So you've got invoices, credit notes, bank transactions, receipts, and repeating invoices, and then also on the items endpoint as well, so being able to set those default prices for your items, both sales and purchase, at 4 decimal places. So yeah, just on that, so the line item precision in generally, unit amount is the only value that's changing, and so it still says 2 decimal places by default, but will change to 4 decimal places if you opt in with that extra parameter. Quantity stays at 4 decimal places. It's always been 4 decimal places, and the line amount, so the total for that line, will still be rounded to 2 decimal places, even if you've used 4 decimal places on the unit amount, and tax amount similarly stays at 2 decimal places.
So yeah, so for those who aren't maybe very familiar with all the line amount terms and things like that, then so you're never going to have a invoice total that has 4 decimal places on it. It's always going to be 2 decimal places on any actual sum values in terms of like invoice total, and the line totals, they're always going to be to 2 decimal places.
Exactly right. Cool. Yeah, cool. And so just a quick example here to illustrate how that might work a little bit differently. So if we're selling two blue widgets with a unit amount of 10.003 in the current world, and in what will remain the default 2DP world, that 10.003 would get rounded down to 10.00. So 2 of those is a line amount of $20. But if we use this new 4DP parameter and we keep that extra precision, 2 times 10.003 equals 20.006. And then that rounds up the line amount to 20.01. So you can see that there will be some slight differences there, and it will affect the line amounts and the actual invoice total as well. So just something to be aware of. And then coming up next, so as we've been mentioning, working really hard on the .NET wrapper library, and that's really well progressed now. We're really trying to make that absolutely as easy to use as possible, and fleshing that out with heaps of examples for all the endpoints and lots of different scenarios. So hopefully that'll be really good to use. And the payroll API is still coming along. We've got that in beta at the moment with a couple of organisations, and yeah, we're looking to release that pretty soon as well. It's quite exciting.
Cool. So yeah, so we'll probably do on our next Hangout in July, we're going to do a deep dive into the .NET wrapper.
Yeah.
So for anybody interested in that, we'll do a deep dive on that then.
Yeah, and what's next on the horizon after that? So the Files API. Now, recently we released the support for a lot more endpoints, being able to attach documents to, being able to attach attachments to files to different documents. But we want to open up the files inbox that's in Xero as well. So you'll be able to add and retrieve files from the Xero inbox, which aren't necessarily on specific documents. So we think there's some exciting use cases there. And then of course purchase orders. Really keen to get that out, and moving on to more wrapper libraries in other languages as well. And sort of just on that point, if there are people out there that feel strongly about a particular language or another, please let us know so we can work on the prioritization of getting those out as well. Cool.
Awesome. So yeah, if anybody's got any questions on that, by all means, throw it into the Hangout forum there. So guys, in terms of 4DP, so I guess one thing to bear in mind is that so we talked about use cases. Common use cases will be things like inventory management applications who are dealing with those high precision values and putting stuff in, but retrieving invoices with 4 decimal places at the moment. Do you want to just explain what the behavior will be on that as well? So let's say, for example, an invoice is being created in Xero by a customer, and it's at 4 decimal places. Right now, if you're retrieving that out by the API, is that rounded to 2 decimal places, or how does that manifest?
Sure. So the default behavior is that if you haven't opted in to specifying that unit DP of 4 on the URL parameter, it will still come out all round the unit amount on the line items to 2 decimal places. So just to be clear though, that if an invoice has been entered at 40p, the line totals that get calculated when you retrieve those via the API, that may be slightly inconsistent if you're viewing the invoice at 2dp. So it would only ever be off by a few cents, but if you opt into using the 40p precision, you'll see exactly how the person has entered it inside Xero.
Cool. And then one other question that we had was around, defaults. Is this going to be opt-in for now? Are we going to change that later on?
So with API 2, it's just going to be opt-in. So like we consider a breaking change. So there's hundreds or thousands of integrations out there, right? So we don't want developers to all of a sudden wake up tomorrow whenever we release it in the next few days and find their apps are broken. So in the next generation API though, definitely would be the default behavior, 40p.
Yeah, and I noticed we also future-proofed ourselves a little bit there, because the parameter that we're putting in is unit DP equals 4. So there's no plans at the moment to go past 4, is there?
Not at the moment, but as always, we're always listening to feedback from our customers. So we'll just wait and see what people are looking for next.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So hopefully we'll have that out. So we're not time boxing it yet, because the dev team are still busy just doing some.
Yeah, we're actually very, very close. So I would expect a release probably early next week.
Cool. You heard it here first, folks. Tony's making promises on when he's shipping.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we've got a community forum thread open at the moment.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So if there's any questions that developers have there, interim, we're probably at a stage now where we could probably put up a bit more details about that. We've obviously shown this morning what the URL parameter will be. We might put up some more details there today, just so developers know what's coming up.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so I think that's all the questions we've got on 4DP at the moment. So just other things we wanted to quickly run through. So I do want to just quickly mention the Developer Day in Sydney, which is on the 20th of August. So we should be releasing full speaker schedule and everything like that in the next few days. We don't have quite that up on the XeroCon website. So just so everybody's aware, so XeroCon Sydney, which is going to be our biggest XeroCon event of the next sort of probably 12 months or so, because the Australian event is massive. So that's on XeroCon itself is on the 21st and 22nd of August, but the Developer Day is taking place the day before, which is the 20th of August. So we've got a great lineup. So it's not just Xero people telling you stuff, it's other add-on partners and developers are going to be taking part. We're going to have some people from all different walks of the technology sphere coming and giving some talks as well. So it's going to be a mix of how do you build an application, how do you integrate in the best way, and all those technical things, but it's also going to be covering things like how do you sell your application, how do you price it, all those things. So we're going to have lots of developers there from different stages in the journey, some very advanced and some just starting out. So if you can make it to Sydney on the 20th of August, we definitely recommend it. And we'll make sure and send an email out to our mailing list in the next sort of probably couple of weeks, just to give you all the information you need for that. So that is coming up. So looking forward to that. And then in terms of our next Hangout, Fire through to, oh yeah. So our next Hangout then is on July 29th. So we're going to be doing that in New Zealand afternoon time, which for our UK friends is extremely late, unfortunately. And for some of our US friends, it's probably a little bit late as well, but it's good for our Australian friends who probably missed out on this Hangout this morning, unless they were up very early. But as always, those recordings are available, and we'll have them on our developer.xero.com/hangout page. This recording will be going up there quite shortly as well. So that's it from the API team for this month. Short and sharp this month, so hopefully you enjoyed it. But also do please remember that this is for your benefit. So if there's anything you'd like us to cover in more depth, or if you've got sort of topic suggestions, anything like that, we'd love to hear from you. So just before I go, I'll just do one last check, make sure nobody's put in any other questions. Oh yeah, so we do have one late arrival on questions from Igor. Does current Zero API support provision new user registration? That's a good question, Igor. So at the moment, the API only connects to an existing Zero organization. So we don't provide a provisioning API to create either users within Zero or the Zero organizations that a user is attached to. There's no current plans to provide that. Basically, the commercials and that kind of thing around our API are such that we don't allow developers to kind of resell Zero and thus provision and create users or Zero organizations. But we're always open to new ideas, but it's probably not something that will be happening, certainly not in the short to medium term anyway. Awesome, cool. Well, if that's the last in terms of questions, then we'll leave it there. And just to say thank you very much from the API team for using the API and getting involved in the ecosystem, and we'll see you next month. Bye.